Hello, happy Wednesday. We are doing the tea break chat this afternoon instead of this morning because I moved some things around so I could go have coffee with a friend this morning. And so thank you for tuning in now. I can't believe that this is the kind of final countdown to Christmas. Christmas Eve is 10 days away. It is next weekend. That is crazy. But here we are. So I guess, what have I got to say this week? What's been going on? I think the thing I want to talk about today is the overarching theme of that keeps reappearing in my life these days is slowing down. And that is popping up in my coaching with my client. It's popping up in the coaching with my coach. It's popping up in my my early stages of my dating life. It's popping up around the holidays in general. It just is this reoccurring theme that just keeps showing up of the slowing down and the benefits of that. So makes sense that I spend a little bit of time talking about that today. So I guess like I said, it's coming up everywhere. But it came up in my early dating life. So I am seeing somebody new, and he fairly early on said he wants to go slow with this, that things have been, he's rushed into things in the past and it hasn't necessarily worked out and wants to go slow. And I have to be honest, at first I was like, oh, what does that mean? What does it look like? Oh my gosh, I don't know how to do that. Am I going to mess it up and do it all wrong? And had some sort of fears come up around that phrase and some resistance to that. And then that, in turn, has led to all kinds of interesting conversations with my coach. And like I said, then with my coaching clients. And it just keeps reappearing since I've noticed that, my resistance to this phrase of slowing down. And actually, it's a bit silly to have that resistance because I have already seen in so many places in my life where slowing down brings all kinds of magic. And since having this conversation, it's happening again now. Not surprising to anybody except me. In that, by slowing down, we are able to really, and I don't just mean with early dating life, but in general, by slowing down, you're able to really kind of take your time over things that you need to. So whether that be processing emotions, whether that be building intimacy and building a foundation of intimacy, whether that be addressing the shame that's coming up around certain things, whether that's sitting with the big emotions, whether that's finding time to bring more pleasure into your life and bring more feel-good in and soaking in the magic of the moment. When we are rushing through life, whatever aspect it is, we are rushing through life, we don't have time for any of the good stuff. We don't have time for anything because we're too busy just rushing from one thing to the next. And that can be a huge thing, especially at this time of year. I mean, let's be honest. Have we all seen the memes that say adulthood is just constantly saying things will slow down after next week forevermore? Because that does often feel like the way life is. We always think if we just get through this bit, then life will slow down. Things will get, things are going to get less crazy once we get to that point. And we say that forever and ever and ever, and life carries on crazy. Unless we intentionally slow down. So that is really where, like I said, that gives you the time to let in the good stuff, let in the pleasure, let in the magic, but also do some of the hard work, the holding the big emotions, the processing them, the sitting with them. So, like I said, this time of year at Christmas, it can, often we fill our calendars jam-packed with, and for some reason, we all go into this, not all, but a lot of us go into this, starting kind of November-ish, this crazy oh, let's have a catch up before Christmas. Let's get together before Christmas. as though the world ends at Christmas and we need to see everybody because this is our very last chance to see them. Like, I have to see you before Christmas, or I have to see you maybe before the end of the year. And I mean, to be honest, I don't quite understand that because the world doesn't end at Christmas, and you can still see these same people in January and in February and in March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, and November. But it is this thing that happens at this time of year. We fill our calendars with get-togethers, with catch-ups, with reunions, with our old school friends, with every family member under the sun, old colleagues, and our calendars just become really busy. And I know this from trying to get a babysitter in December. Good luck to you. Every time I try and ask somebody if they can babysit, everybody's busy in December. Everybody's got plans. And so we end up with this like jam-packed schedule right at a time when it is dark outside, the nights are dark. We might want to be cozying in, like burrowing into the sofa under a nice warm blanket and enjoying our Christmas tree and Christmas decorations we've put up. Instead, we're like rushing around, and then we, on top of the filling our social calendars, we've got Christmas presents to buy. We've got kids. You might want to be taking the kids to see all the fun stuff and go see the lights and go see a panto and go on the reindeer hunting trail and go, just all the things. Go see Santa. And we end up doing so much. But then what I get from a lot of people, including myself, is this feeling of burnout, of being so tired and not actually enjoying any of it, or at least not enjoying it as much as we could because we're just trying to do too much. And you're always like planning the next thing and going, when's the next thing? Instead of really soaking in the thing it is that we're doing right now. So I think this is a really good time of year, to be bringing up the conversation of slowing down. #slow is good. And that can mean a ton of things. That can mean turning down some of the social invitations you get. That can mean not taking your kids to do all the fun stuff that there is to do, because there's an abundance of fun Christmassy stuff to do at this time of year. But just because it's there doesn't mean you need to do it all. It's absolutely fine to not do it all. I have never taken... I was about to say I've never taken the girls to see Santa. That's not true. The year Evie was a newborn, so Nora was 2.5. We went to our local play cafe, and Santa happened to be there, and so they met Santa at the local play cafe. But aside from that, I've never signed up and paid tickets and gone to see Santa, and my kids are fine as a result. Or there's lots of Christmassy stuff that I don't do with my girls because I just don't. Because it's too much, and it's okay to say no to that, or it's okay to say, I would love to catch up, but can we do it in January instead? And honestly, often January, people talk about January being the longest month of the year and how you get January blues, and part of that is because we do so much in December and then we crash in January. So why not spread out the fun? Why not say, I would love to catch up with you, can we do it in January instead, and add some more fun into that month? But give yourself the time and the space to enjoy the season, to enjoy the Christmas decorations that you put up, to sit and, if you go to the Christmas market, sit and enjoy that mulled wine or that hot chocolate. Or I actually saw, when I was in town last weekend, I saw one of the shops, in addition to mulled wine, they had something like hot mulled gin. I have no idea what that is. I am a gin drinker usually if I drink, and I've never had hot mulled gin, so if anybody can enlighten me as to what that actually is or tastes like, that would be helpful. But whatever it is, if you go to the Christmas market, rather than having to go there and then rush home to do the next thing, sit and enjoy your hot drink and enjoy the people watching and listen to the band playing and listen to the carol singers and, give yourself time to just luxuriate in the magic of the season. And similarly, some of the holiday season can bring up some hard stuff too, and skipping right over that, whilst that may feel more comfortable in the short term of I'm annoyed with my family because they're trying to force these plans on me, and I don't want to have whatever it is, holidays and bring together lots of families, which brings up triggers. And it can be easy or tempting to just try and skip past all those and go, let's just move on to the next thing. We don't have time for this right now. but actually giving yourself time to process what's going on with the family dynamics, to figure out, stop and go, what is it that I need right now? What do I need to make myself feel safe and comfortable here? Can give you a chance to actually make everything feel so much better. Or, for me with the early dating vibes, by slowing things down, it means that we are actually giving ourselves a chance to kind of really, like I said, like build a more solid foundation and go, okay, instead of just like rushing through and trying to, fill every moment and, see each other every chance we get and just like rushing. But then it's kind of like, jumping in too much too soon. Giving yourselves a chance to go, okay, let's build on this. Slowly but surely, you start to build trust, you start to build vulnerability, you start to really get a sense of who each other is and go, is this something I want to share with this person? Is this something I want to let the other person into? Rather than like, oh shoot, I just shared all this stuff and I didn't mean to, and and really it means that when, as that builds, you get, like I said, a more solid foundation, and then things get to just get better and better and better. I feel like I'm just sort of talking in circles today. I hope that this is making sense. It's all making perfect sense in my head. But I guess the point of all of this is your permission slip to slow down in life, in whatever that means. Slow down and enjoy the good stuff. Let the good stuff in. Slow down even through the harder stuff and really let yourself hold that and process it and move through it so that it reduces its power over you. And whatever that means to you, however that looks, I have not found so far any circumstance or instance or situation where slowing down has not been helpful. I think I can say that. I can say that with pretty much certainty, that there has been no example in my life so far where slowing down has had a negative effect on anything. It is pretty much always helpful or neutral at the worst. If it was going to happen, it was going to happen anyway. But it is almost always helpful to slow down in things. So whatever is coming up for you as you're listening to this and going, there might be something niggling at you going, oh yeah, I could do a slowing down there, or, that sounds familiar. Whatever is coming up for you right now as you're hearing this, take this as your permission slip to slow down in that area. Just try it, maybe say no to one thing, or maybe buy one less present, or maybe cancel an engagement, or, don't do the dishes one night, just sit and read your book and enjoy the Christmas lights. Whatever it is, take this as your permission to slow down. With that, I think I'm going to move on to the Q&A because I have 2 good questions this week. So the first question is about, how do you handle it when you get perceived criticism? And I think this is such a good question. I think this is such a good question, and there's a few kind of different ways to answer, because criticism and perceived criticism can come up in so many different ways. And I think that, so there's a difference, first of all, between receiving criticism and receiving feedback. And often it can be easy to confuse the two. So often we can be getting what somebody intends as feedback, and we can receive it as criticism instead. And I think a big difference and an important piece here is in separating kind of feedback, meaning the intention is to help something improve, whether it's work that you have done, or the way you handle something, or the way you communicate, or something else. But feedback is intended to help something improve, and it can be really, really helpful to be able to receive feedback and to listen to it and to take suggestions on board. Criticism has obviously a much more negative connotation. Criticism feels like a personal attack, something you've done wrong. And actually, I think when I said that there's a difference, the difference is primarily internal to us, because very rarely, not never, but very rarely do people mean it to be as personal attacks. People don't usually go around saying hurtful, mean things about you personally that they, intended to hurt you. However, we often take it that way. And there's a huge disparity between those two. Like, if people are if it's the vast minority of times that people are trying to be hurtful and mean it personally, and yet the vast majority of times we're receiving it that way, there's a big, there's a clear issue there. But it's the receiving part that we have control over, and it's how we receive that and how we take it. And I think it's really helpful to remember that people rarely mean it personally or attacking or to be hurtful, and to separate and to pull the emotion out of it and go, okay, what is it that they're trying to tell me here? And it might be that they didn't deliver it very well. It might be that they delivered it with with lots of emotion behind it, and that is their stuff to deal with. If somebody's raging around the house and going, ugh, the house is such a tip, it's so annoying in here, why is the house so dirty all the time? And they might be saying that with lots of emotion, and then you might be receiving that as, it's my fault that the house is messy, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, it's an attack on me that the house is dirty. Whereas they might not have meant it towards you at all. They might have just been generally annoyed that the house was dirty and that things needed cleaning up. And they weren't in the mood to clean it up. They weren't saying that you should have cleaned it up. But it just meant that they weren't in the mood to clean it up. But because they delivered it with such emotion as well, it's easy for us to take on that emotion and take that on. Whereas, or even if they didn't, maybe it wasn't said with lots of emotion. It was just said with a casual, the house is kind of dirty. But we still have this tendency in us to want to please and to do better and to want, to take that as our fault. When really, they were just voicing the house is dirty. And if we can take the personal meaning from it out and just go, yes, I hear what you are saying. You think the house is dirty. Okay, what are we going to do about that? Or whatever it is. Or if it is direct feedback, at work often it can be here's some feedback on a piece of work that you did. And instead of taking it I'm a horrible person because this work came back with a lot of comments and things that need changing, they were not saying that you're a bad person or bad at your job because this work needs changing. They were simply saying, this work needs changing. And you can go, okay, thank you for helping me make it better. I will make those changes and we will try again. And it just becomes, when you can take the emotion out and you can take it's a personal attack out, and hear the words for what they are and how they're intended. This is to make something, to improve this thing that I did, or like I said, a situation. And it's not about you as a human. It's about the output, which is very different. What you do is different than who you are. So I think being able to separate those is really, really important. Let me know if that answered the question. I feel like I'm saying lots of stuff today and not necessarily hearing it as it's coming out of my mouth, and it's all making sense in my head, but is it making as much sense to you as it does in my head? Let me know. Okay, then the other question that I had today was this one was a big one. This one was a doozy. So let's see if I can give it justice. But the question was, how do I approach dating and approach, putting myself out there to approach dating, basically, with an open heart and knowing that it can very likely lead to hurt. How, especially, given that my last proper, actual big relationship ended in divorce, and since then, I've been dating on and off for a year now. It was last December when I first went on my very first date. And it's been on and off in that time, but nothing serious has come of that. So I have had several heartbreaks, over this time period. And so the question was, how do I keep approaching it with such an open heart and not let the hurt lead, knowing that the evidence tells me you're probably going to get hurt here. Track record says this is going to end in hurt. How do you not let that stop you? And it's a huge question. And it's certainly one that, will come up in the dating part of the divorcee. But the short and simple answer, like the soundbite answer I can give is that yes, approaching all of this, approaching dating with an open heart does absolutely lead to the possibility of hurt, of disappointment, of heartbreak. And yes, I have had that happen, and very well could have it happen more. It's a possibility. But the flip side of that is that my heart gets to keep opening to so much magic. I have also experienced so much joy and growth and expansion and fun and possibility and just like amazing, wonderful things. And I absolutely it feels like every time I start a new dating thing, it feels like my heart grows in size. Like we actually just watched The Grinch last weekend, and where his heart grows and grows. It feels like every time I enter into a new dating thing, my heart just keeps growing. And when so this image comes of every time I enter into something, my heart grows. And when I get heartbroken, it shrinks down again, but it doesn't shrink back to its original size. It's almost like a, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but you're still making progress. I'm not sure is this a good analogy? It's just coming to me right now. I think it is. So that even though there's the heartbreak, I am getting so much more from the open-heartedness that I'm losing with the heartbreak piece. And I would 100 times over prefer to keep the joy and the wonder and the magic from the open-heartedness. I will happily keep that if it means the trade-off is some heartbreak now and then, because I know I can handle the heartbreak. It sucks, don't get me wrong, and I have shared on here that I actually don't usually share the early dating pieces, do I? I share the heartbreak, so you guys know when I go through a breakup and when I'm heartbroken. And it sucks every time, and I do not enjoy it, and it's not getting any more fun as I go through it. I really, this whole heartbreak business is bullshit. Not a fan of it. But I know that I can handle it. I know that my heart will heal again. I know that heartbreak is not going to break me, and my heart will heal. I know how to handle myself through this process. And so knowing that, I can go into the next relationship, dating situation with that open heart again, going, okay, I'm going to go into this heart wide open, ready for whatever it brings me, because I know that even if it ends in disappointment and heartbreak, I'll be okay. Yes, it will suck. No, I hope that doesn't happen, but if I go into a new relationship expecting the heartbreak, expecting it to not work, well, then I've just doomed it from the beginning, haven't I? Then I'm not open to the joy and the magic and the possibility and the potential for love and the potential for a deep soul connection. If I expect it to end in hurt, then I'm already blocking all of that good stuff. I can't receive all of that possibility of magic and that soul level connection and love, because I've already got my walls up going, nope, gotta keep myself safe. I cannot get hurt here because that would break me. So I'm going to block off from receiving all of this amazing stuff. Whereas if I can open myself up to receiving that, I can go, okay, I know I'm possibly inviting hurt in, but I'm not expecting that outcome. I am going to approach each one of these, first dates, second dates, whatever it is, each new time I meet somebody and go out there again, I'm going to go, this could be the one. This could be my last first date. And I don't know I will never know which one is my last first date until way down the line, will I? There's no way. And if I can approach each one as, will this be my last first date? Will it be this one? Will this be my last second date? Maybe I'll never have a third date again. And by approaching each one with this curiosity and this wonderment and this ready to be surprised by it all, and this, just open-heartedness, then I get to keep experiencing all these great, amazing, good feelings, whilst also knowing that, and if it doesn't work, I've got me. I know how to get through it. I know it won't actually break me. I know that I can get through this process, and that's okay. And so I guess in short, like I said, heartbreak sucks, but it's gonna suck either way. So whether, say I'm gonna go into a relationship, and my crystal ball, now I know what's gonna happen. So I know. So it turns out that this relationship lasts a month, and I can either spend if we break up at the end, I'm going to spend for a month-long thing. I mean, there's no prescribed time, so I'm just giving, these are totally arbitrary examples. But maybe I'm going to spend a week brokenhearted over this. But if I spent that whole month in total pure joy and excitement and open-hearted and excited about the possibility, and then it ends and I spend that week brokenhearted and feeling like my life is shattered and having to go through that heartbreak piece, I had 4 weeks of awesome and 1 week of suck. The alternative is going into it thinking, this is probably not going to work. It's probably going to end up in heartbreak. I will spend 4 weeks of kind of sort of okayness. I'm saying I'm open to it, but actually I'm really not. And so I spend 4 weeks of meh, and then a week of suck. Well, which of those ends up being the better position, do you think? The suckiness doesn't get less sucky just because you thought it was coming. And that doesn't actually take away the suckiness of it. Instead, you just made the run-up to it suck too. You just made it the whole thing worse. As opposed to, I had this awesome time, and then I'll deal with the sucky part at the end. So, I guess that's my answer. For me, it is totally a trade-off I'm willing to make, because I would much rather experience all of this awesomeness knowing that if it does go wrong, I've got me, but I'm not expecting it to go wrong. I'm expecting that this could be amazing. And the other piece before I wrap up, in terms of yes, because all of this could sort of apply to lots of situations, but in terms of the how I approach the dating is as well. So yes, I've dated lots of men over the last year, and had a few that have turned into like I said, none of them have been full serious full out boyfriend things, but I've had a couple that have been things, and that have resulted in heartbreak at the end. But even the ones that didn't turn into that were just men I've gone on dates with, maybe multiple dates, but kind of nothing more than that. Every single person who has come into my life in this past year, and every single person who I've dated, especially the ones that have turned into something that then led to heartbreak, I have learned something from all of that. There has always been something I can take out of that, some lesson, some growth, some expansion. Okay, I guess there was a few first dates where I'd be harder pressed to find super awesome deep lessons, but even those, there's always been something I can extract as a lesson from it. But specifically the ones that have been longer, something that I consider to be a relationship of some sort, and the ones that have led to heartbreak, I've learned something from these men that I am so grateful for, and that helps me on the next step. And so although these men weren't my one, they weren't my exactly man, they weren't my Mr. Abso-fucking-lutely, they weren't the ones to turn into my epic love story, but they got me closer to the man who is. I was able to learn something about myself, learn something about how I want to be in a relationship, learn something about who I'm looking for and who I want to be with. I've been able to learn something from all of it that just gets me closer and closer and closer. So when you kind of look at it that way, for me, it's sort of easy to go into the next thing being well, what's coming next? Who's coming next? Who am I going to meet this time? Maybe this will be the one, but if they're not the one, then maybe I'll get to learn something awesome. And And when I'm in the heartbreak stage, I don't really see it that way. Then I'm in the like, no, this really sucks. And I know for me that I'm not ready to go back out there dating until I've done all that heartbreak bit and I start to come through going, okay, now like I can see that possibility again. And when I start to see that possibility again, that's when I know I'm ready to go back out there and try again. So yeah, I hope that answers it. I do have a lot to say about dating, and it's been a super awesome adventure, and I just keep learning from it. And, you know, like I was saying at the beginning of this, is this one that I'm starting in now, which we are doing it, you know, it's a let's take it slow, let's do it differently than I've done the other ones, and this feels very different. And each time is a different thing, and it's cool to approach each one that way and go, okay, what's this gonna be? And how's it gonna feel? And what's gonna happen here? And it just, that's why I love early dating vibes, because it's so full of possibility and wonderment and excitement. And I love hearing first dates when I'm out and about, and I love, you know, my neighbor was telling me all about her new beau and all the like excitement of that, because there's just so much possibility and it's so super fun. So that's all I've got for you today. I hope that was helpful. If any of this resonates with you, then, you know, drop me a message. Let's talk about it more. You know, put something in the comments if you want to have the conversation going in the comments. All of this is always here, open for discussion. And then it's always, as I say, you know, any of this brings anything up that you want to talk about more personally, we can talk about personal coaching. Obviously, you've probably seen the Divorcee program. So those lessons are up and available and ready for purchase on my website, lindseyhallcoaches.com. You can get just lessons, or you can get the private coaching packages as well. There's an option for 1 call a month, or there's an option for 3 calls a month plus Boxer. So I've really made sure that I have like a range of price options and a range of support available so that I can support you in whatever it is that you need for that. And then there's obviously just, you know, the regular one-to-one coaching with me as well is still an option. So even if it's not a divorce help specifically that you need, but we can do the regular coaching as well, and do all of this stuff in more detail if you want to go into any of this kind of one-on-one with me. So there's all of that. Also, if any of this is helpful, share it with your friends. Please, sharing is absolutely free to you, but means the world to me. And it helps, you know, more people come in and get the support that might be exactly right for them at exactly the right time. So please share any of my stuff with your friends, and I will be eternally grateful. And the final thing to say is that I will be doing Tea Break Chat again next week, but it's going to be on Tuesday next week. So school holidays start on Friday. Nora breaks up, so I'll have Nora with me next Wednesday, and I cannot do a Tea Break Chat with my kids home. So next week's Tea Break Chat will be on Tuesday. I will let you know on Instagram on Monday, as long as I don't forget. You can ask questions then. And yeah, I think that's it. So send me a message, drop me send a comment, let me know what you think, and have a wonderful, wonderful week. Okay, bye.